She was selected to be the next era of Disney princesses, the modern face of a legendary fairy tale. But instead of a royal rise, Rachel Zegler found herself at the center of one of Hollywood's most talked about collapses. Snow White didn't just fail at the box office, it crashed again on Disney Plus, falling off the charts almost as fast as it appeared. And right in the heart of the chaos, Rachel broke down in public. She admitted she was falling apart, started therapy, and watched as the very industry that once celebrated her went silent. This role was supposed to launch her career. Instead, it left her on the sidelines. And just when you think things couldn't get worse, they did. Had. The production nightmare. Disney didn't hold back financially. Reports say they poured $250 million into making the film, plus an enormous marketing budget. TikTok promos, influencer collaborations, studio campaigns, you name it. The movie opened with $3.5 million in Thursday previews, a modest but promising start. Yet insiders at Disney revealed the project had been in trouble from day one. One even called it a slow-motion identity crisis. The script went through constant rewrites. Test audiences caused panic among executives, and no one could settle on the film's direction. Was it a feminist retelling? A magical update? A political commentary? No one really had a clear answer. This timeless story, beloved by generations around the world, somehow turned into a complete misfire. Scenes were filmed, scrapped, then reshot again and again. Multiple composers were brought on. Some versions were too bold, others too bland. Even the famous poisoned apple had to be redesigned 4 separate times just for toy testing. The final product? A film with no emotional core. And without that, even Disney's signature magic wasn't enough to save it. On June 11th, 2025, Snow White debuted on Disney Plus with all the fanfare of a royal release. It quickly climbed to the #1 spot in several regions. Headlines claimed it was a streaming success, but the numbers told a different story. Nielsen recorded 581 million minutes watched in its first week, which looks impressive at first glance, but the deeper data painted a grim picture. Most viewers didn't finish the movie. Many stopped halfway. Very few returned for a second watch, and almost no one added it to their watch lists. By its second week, the film had dropped completely out of the top 5. Curiosity. Critics and commentators agreed. People weren't watching Snow White because they were excited. They were watching out of pure curiosity to see how bad it actually was. And it didn't disappoint. Just not in a good way. This was classic hate watch territory. The views came from skepticism, not support. For those who did finish the film, the overwhelming feeling was disappointment. Reviewers called it flat, soulless, and preachy. To longtime Disney fans, it didn't feel like a fresh take. It felt like a rejection of everything they loved. The heart, the wonder, the enchantment, all replaced with forced speeches and awkward messaging. It was a complete disaster. Critics gave it a dismal 29%. The audience score, an even worse 19%. One IMDb reviewer didn't hold back. It's awful. I genuinely can't understand how so much time and money went into this. The final result is painfully cringe. They ended their review with a harsh question. Disney, what on earth have you done? Even kids weren't impressed. One parent shared their experience. I took my 6-year-old daughter to see it. She chuckled a few times, but about 45 minutes in, she leaned over and whispered, "This is boring." There were no catchy songs, no breakout characters, no viral sparkle, just awkward CGI, forgettable dialogue, and a mood that felt more like schoolwork than a magical escape. Failing at the box office is one thing, but when even Disney Plus audiences, the same people who binge anything remotely watchable, start tuning out, that's not a simple flop. That's a full-scale collapse. The internet turn. Rachel Zegler wasn't just the actress, she became the symbol of the entire movie. And soon, her past interviews began resurfacing. In one, she called the original 1937 film weird. In another, she referred to the prince as a stalker. Her modern, sarcastic tone, very Gen Z, didn't sit well with Disney's traditional fanbase. She's not dreaming of true love, Rachel said. She's dreaming of becoming a leader, fearless, fair, brave, and true. But what was meant to sound empowering instead came off as confrontational, and the internet wasted no time reacting. #WokeWhite trended for days. Memes exploded. Her press interviews were turned into viral roast sessions. One tweet that caught fire read, "This is the most unbearable Snow White I've ever seen." Some critics pointed out that if she had presented it as a natural evolution of the story, it might have been accepted. But instead, it felt like she was embarrassed by the original and dismissive of the fans who loved it. And then came the breaking point. Rachel finally opened up, revealing how isolated she felt in the middle of the media storm. It was raw, unfiltered, vulnerable. It's hard, and it's lonely. Very lonely. She shared that if loneliness could exist, then so could hope. But the internet didn't respond with compassion. That emotional clip quickly went viral, sliced into reaction videos, turned into memes, spread across platforms. A handful of voices showed support, but most, they mocked her. Sarcasm overpowered sympathy. Rachel later admitted she was spiraling mentally. I'm going to be honest. I'm a very mentally ill piece of human right now. She began therapy, started medication for anxiety. In an interview with People, she said, I wanted to move through the world feeling confident again. But no matter how honest or open she was, none of it could cover up the truth. Snow White had failed, and the internet wouldn't let her move on. In the past, Disney would have gone into damage control. Fresh trailers, marketing revamps, new merch campaigns. This time, nothing. No updated ads, no product relaunches, no integration at the theme parks. Target pulled the dolls. Walmart quietly shelved the posters. Even Disneyland removed her dress from store displays. It was like Snow White 2025 had been erased. Finally, during a Disney earnings call, CEO Bob Iger broke the silence with a vague remark. Our job is to entertain, not to push an agenda. That was it. No defense, no explanation, not even a proper goodbye. Rachel hasn't been officially dropped. She hasn't been canceled. But her career is clearly on hold. No new roles have been confirmed. No auditions have made headlines. Insiders say her team is actively pitching projects, but the offers just aren't coming in. Some in the industry say she's on ice. Others call it Hollywood jail. That uncomfortable in-between where studios wait and watch to see if the public forgets. We've seen this happen before. Katherine Heigl, Shia LaBeouf, Gina Carano. Once you're considered radioactive, no one wants to be the first to take the risk. The big picture. Snow White was supposed to be a triumph. A fresh win for Disney. A career-defining moment for Rachel. Instead, it turned into a cautionary tale. Even the most powerful brands can collapse when the messaging gets muddled. Audiences will tolerate weak visuals or flat pacing. But what they won't accept is feeling talked down to. Sure, streaming platforms can dress up viewership numbers for headlines, but they can't hide the silence that follows when no one's watching anymore. This film didn't just slip from the trending page, it was quietly buried. Rachel's emotional breakdown wasn't a PR stunt. It was genuine. A young woman caught in a system that creates stars overnight and breaks them just as fast. She poured years into this role, and when everything collapsed, she was left to face the fallout alone. So what happens now? Does she get a second chance? Maybe a gritty indie redemption? A voice role in some future animated hit? Or does Hollywood let the silence grow until no one even remembers she once wore the crown? Because here's the truth. Sometimes all it takes is one viral clip, one interview, one sentence to define a career forever. What's your take? Share your thoughts in the comments. Because that moment didn't just trigger backlash, it set the downfall in motion.